and welcome to Baking with Chickens, the show where I bake using eggs from my backyard chickens. I'm going to show you how to make these London Fog cookies. London Fog is Earl Grey, a hint of vanilla, a little bit of creamy milk, and deliciousness all around. It was a viral drink that went crazy, and I turned it into a cookie. I'm gonna go eat a pile of these. Try it. Do you know how many batches I had to mess up in order to create this London Fog cookie? I am so excited to share this with you. This is the second cookie in my sweater weather cookie series. I'm gonna show you how to make these cookies today and what my secret ingredient is that makes these cookies extra creamy with that caramelized malty flavor. Grab the link in the description below and follow along and bake, bake, bake. I invented a freaking cookie. So these London Fog cookies are crispy on the outside, chewy and gooey in the middle, and it's got a little sprinkling of cacao nibs on top to give it kind of like an extra chocolatey crunch without too much of a chocolatey flavor. Most of the Earl Grey cookies that I see online that I was searching for are usually made of like shortbread, or they're kind of like a crumbly cookie. But when I think of a sweater weather cookie, like a cookie that's made after this drink, it should be something that's kind of like warm and gooey and chewy and like fills up your insides. Later on, I'm going to show you how to make a London Fog drink at home. What's your favorite winter drink? If you tell me in the comment below, I will try to turn it into a cookie. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video, and I'm going to show you how to make these cookies. First step is you're going to mix all of your dry ingredients together. Pour together your 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, half teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and then add your 2 tablespoons of malt powder. Now don't skip the malt powder, and I'll tell you why. My secret ingredient to these cookies, and a lot of these sweater weather cookies, is malt powder. So a malted milk powder is a cereal grain, typically barley, that's been sprouted, dried, unmalted. And what that means is the natural sugars that are in these wheats and grains are brought out, and it kind of gives it like a caramely, nutty flavor and a creaminess that you normally wouldn't get without it. You're probably familiar with malt because you'll find it in beer. You'll also find it in some whiskeys. I'm making a hot drink sweater weather inspired cookie. So the malt here is going to give it that creaminess that makes it just a little bit different and distinctive than just a regular cookie. This is actually plain Ovaltine. So Ovaltine, Milo, Horlicks, you know, those have a very special place in my heart because I grew up drinking those as a kid, but those are made from malted powders. If you can get malted milk powder, awesome. If not, grab some Milo, Ovaltine, Horlicks, whatever you can find at your local grocery store. Add your 2 tea bags of finely ground Earl Grey tea leaves into your dry ingredients. If you're using a loose leaf Earl Grey tea leaf, that's about the equivalent of 2 teaspoons. So after you add those, mix it together and then set aside your dry ingredients. These cookies are made of Earl Grey. Now, Earl Grey tea is made from bergamot. Bergamot is a citrus tree that kind of has that signature, like citrusy, strong, slightly spicy fragrance. The best bergamot is grown actually in Italy. It's a very particular tree that grows in very specific places, but that is responsible for the scent of Earl Grey. Next, add in your softened room temp butter into your stand mixer, and then your 3/4 cups of granulated sugar, and cream it together using the paddle attachment until it is smooth and creamy. Add in your room temp eggs one at a time and stir until they are incorporated. Add in your second egg and stir until they are incorporated. And then add in your 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Mix it all together until the eggs and butter are smooth and incorporated. Add the dry ingredients into the wet, and mix it into the stand mixer on low so I don't get a cloud of dry flour all over the place. Oh shit, I forgot the white chocolate. Oops, I made a mistake, and what I should have done is added my melted white chocolate into the butter and sugar and egg mixture before adding the dry ingredients. Let's go back. I'm going to melt my white chocolate chips over a double boiler until it is nice and smooth and there's no more chunks. And then I'm going to add it into the butter, egg, sugar mixture. Mix it all together until it is nice and smooth, and then add in the dry ingredients. Mistakes happen. Bok bok bake, we just keep on going. Now I'm gonna scrape the dough out of the bowl. Your dough's gonna be really soft. Put it into the fridge to chill for 1 hour until it stiffens to make it easier to roll into balls. What is a sweater weather cookie? My sweater weather cookie series are cookies that I am baking and inventing and coming up with that are inspired by these winter warming drinks. The cookies should be crispy on the outside, a little bit chewy, and kind of make your insides feel all warm and gooey and safe and warm. The first one was a hot cocoa marshmallow. Do you have a favorite drink that you really like? Tell me in the comments below and I'll try to make it. Let me know what you want to say.
Worm cookies, worm cookies. I would like a dirt sandwich.
After your cookies have chilled, you're going to scoop them out using a cookie scoop. And then I'm going to plop them into this little bowl of the rolling sugar that I've made. When you make the rolling sugar for these cookies, it's really simple. It's just a 1/4 cup of a coarse sugar, like a turbinado sugar or a cane sugar, and a 1 tea bag or 1 teaspoon of finely ground Earl Grey tea, and then these cacao nibs. So here, come here, take a look at these. So these little brown chunks are cacao nibs. They're not sweet, but they have a chocolatey flavor. And then when you roll them into the cookies, they're gonna kind of decorate the top of them. So a 1/4 cup of your sugar, 1/4 cup cacao nibs, and 1 tea bag to use for your rolling sugar. After rolling into the rolling sugar, place your cookies onto the baking sheet at least 2 to 3 inches apart. You'll see I have them staggered here on the baking pan because they do tend to spread out a lot while you're baking. You could chill your dough into the fridge a little bit before baking and they'll spread less. Pop them into the oven and bake them at 350 degrees for 14 to 16 minutes until they're light golden brown on the edges and just slightly golden on top. Look at these beautiful cookies. I love them so much, they're so beautiful. So I let them sit on the pan for a little bit to stiffen before moving them onto the racks to cool. And then I also like to sprinkle them with just the tiniest bit of Malt sea salt because a little bit of salt makes everything go round. A London fog is steamed milk with Earl Grey tea and just a hint of vanilla. The first step is to heat your milk on a stove. I don't have a steamer, so I have this fancy little milk frother. You can use any kind of milk, whole milk, skim milk. I'm using almond milk. Oat milk would be a really good option as well. Heat it up and then pour it into your mug with your tea bag with Earl Grey tea and that little bit of vanilla. You could use just a tiny bit of vanilla extract, or if you have any vanilla beans, you could steep your milk with the vanilla beans. Dip and enjoy. Oh God, it's so hot. I think I burned my tongue. So my cookies are done and I think it's taste testing time. So these are fresh and hot out of the oven, but like all my sweater weather cookies, they are best enjoyed while they're still warm. If you've been storing them, you can pop them into the microwave or your toaster oven to get them a little bit warm, and they're extra gooey and delicious. Take a look at this cookie. The finished cookie is kind of like a thin, flat cookie. Very different than the hot cocoa cookie, but it's crispy on the outside. It's kind of got that wrinkle, very similar to the pan banging cookies, if you are familiar with the famous pan banging cookies, but it's got the same thing. It's kind of like a chocolate chip cookie without the chocolate chips. These are cacao nibs, so it's a little bit crunchy and they're not sweet. Let's pop them open and see. There you go. See, like it's nice and gooey. It's got a chew to it and a bend. They're nice and thin with a hint of Earl Grey. I love a good chewy cookie. It's like the kind of cookie that like sticks in your mouth in a good way. And the edge is just a tiny bit crispy. I sprinkled some flaky salt on top so that it's got just a little hint to break up the sweetness. These are great. The vanilla malt that I put in just kind of gives it like a creaminess similar to the drink, and like that caramelized flavor that you wouldn't normally get if I didn't include that. That vanilla malt is so, so important in this cookie. I'm gonna go eat a pile of these and go, well done. Try it. I hope you like this recipe. Thank you for watching another episode of Baking with Chickens and the second in our sweater weather series of cookies. And I'm also working on recipes for an apple cider caramel cookie, a spiced buttered rum cookie, and a Hong Kong style milk tea cookie. Oh, and a chai molasses. Watch the hot cocoa marshmallows if you haven't already, and stay tuned for the next episode where I attempt the apple cider cookies.